Yo, what's good, guys? Welcome back to another MidCourt Report. Today we're going to be talking about predictions for Tuesday's games, upsets from over the weekend, the ACC, and then what team out of the ACC besides Duke I think can make a deep playoff run. So let's get right on into it. All right, so first talk, very big week. A lot of games are this week, a lot of good games and a lot of big games. First off, we're going to start off with number 1 Auburn versus Vanderbilt. This is a trap game for Auburn since they have number 2 Bama this Saturday. Vandy is very capable of beating anyone if they get the game in their favor. Obviously, it is being played at Memorial Gymnasium. My bad. Auburn is the favorite to win, and I'm gonna take Auburn for this game. I do just think Auburn is gonna be too much for Vandy. I think Auburn's going to win this game by 13. But Vanderbilt, if they get going, if they get shots to start falling, and they get a lot of momentum, they can easily win this game. Maybe not easily, but they can win the game. So I'm going to go with Auburn in the first one. I think Janon Broom's going to be too much. I think he's going to have a really good game. But we'll find out. Next up, we got number 3, Florida versus number 22, Mississippi State. This game is being played in Mississippi at Humphrey Coliseum. The Gators are favorites for this game. Mississippi State is a good team, obviously, being in the SEC, where your schedule's going to be tough no matter what because of how the SEC is this year. And them having lost 3 of their last 5, Mississippi State, their only 2 wins in their last 5 is in OT, overtime against South Carolina, and then they won by 1 point against Georgia. I'm going to take the Gators. I just think Mississippi State will take another loss and probably drop out the top 25 sometime this coming week. I probably should check to see who they play as well this week, or if they play another game at all this week. I don't know. I didn't check. Should have. But, yeah, man. Mississippi State, they're good. I don't think they're going to be able to hang with Florida. Florida's just on another level. As we've seen, they beat Auburn, which we will talk about later in upsets. But, yeah, I'm going to take number 3, Florida, for that one. For our last SEC matchup, for the Tuesday games, we got number 5 Tennessee versus number 15 Kentucky. This one's being played in Lexington at Rupp Arena. With these two teams have already played each other. These two teams have already played one game against each other, where Kentucky won that game in Tennessee. So they were on the road when they won that game. Although Tennessee is the favorites, I'm going to take Kentucky. This is going to be my first upset for the Tuesday matchups. Playing in Rupp is always going to be hard, no matter what. Rupp Arena gets to rocking, and it gets loud in there, and that Wildcats team can feed off of a lot of momentum from that crowd. The crowd plays a very big factor for the Wildcats. I do think Tennessee will play good. I don't think it's going to be like a blowout. I think it will be a good game to watch. I'm excited to watch it, but I am giving this one to Kentucky because if you already played them at your stadium, you lost to them, now you're going to Rupp. It's a very, very different environment. Rupp Arena is always packed, always sold out. They're always loud. I think Kentucky's going to win. Just 1, they've already beat you, and 2, now they're playing you at their stadium. You know what I'm saying? So I do think Kentucky will win that one. But only time will tell. We'll see how that goes. Anyways, next up, we got a Big Ten matchup with number 7 Purdue versus number 20 Michigan. Playing at Chrysler Center, Michigan is the favorites to win this game. The spread as of right now is 2.5. Both teams being on a 4-game winning streak. The last time these two teams played was January 24th, which is where Purdue beat Michigan. My bad. 91-64. Give me the Boilermakers for this one. I don't think Michigan will just be able to hang in there. With Purdue, this game will be closer than the game obviously before. But I don't see Michigan being able to win this game. Purdue is just obviously a very good team. They're ranked number 7. Michigan is very good as well. But when you've already played each other and you lost 91-64, I don't think I don't think even if being at your own stadium will help much. Obviously it does help, but I just think Purdue's gonna be too much. I think they'll win this game. I'm gonna go with by 7. I think they'll win this game by 7. Which obviously that is a big margin because they lost by 27 last time, so that's a 20-point flip. But I think this game will be much closer. I think Michigan will be much more prepared than they were last time. I think they'll be more physical. And I think they're going to force tough shots for Purdue, but Purdue is still going to win. Next up, we have a Big 12 matchup with number 13 Arizona taking on Kansas. I'm going with Arizona this game. Them boys have been rolling. They're on a winning streak of 6 as well since the Iowa State game. They have won their games by a solid margin. They've played very well since that game. It's kind of like once they beat Iowa State, they kind of figured out what they were doing. Since then, they've also beat Texas Tech, who's in the top 15, I believe, as of right now. But yeah, give me Arizona, man. Kansas State is also on a 5-game winning streak, though. They're not a bad team either, but I just don't see them winning this one. If they do, congrats to them. They proved me wrong, but I got to take the number 13 team in the country. They're up there for a reason, and although Kansas State did beat Kansas, which we'll be talking about here in the upsets shortly, I just don't think they're going to beat Arizona. Arizona's just they're on a different level right now, and they kind of got the snowball rolling down the hill. If Kansas State is that rock that breaks it, congrats to them, but right now Arizona, I got to go with them. Lastly, we got a Big East matchup in the UConn Huskies versus the number 24 team in the country, Creighton Blue Jays. I think both of these teams are good enough to be ranked, but give me Creighton, man. They're on a 9-game winning streak, beating Marquette, beating UConn earlier this year. They have that win against St. John's now. Now they're at home against UConn. I think they beat them again. So give me the Blue Jays. We'll see how that ends up. All right, welcome to the Upset Alert. We got to start off from Saturday. Florida playing number 1 Auburn, and they win 90-81, led by Alex Condon with 17 points, 10 boards. Walter Clayton Jr.'s first game back as well for the Gators from his injury, and he adds 19 points, 9 assists, 6 boards, shooting 4 of 8 from 3 and 6 of 11 from the field. Auburn drops this game simply because of threes. These two teams were literally identical in almost every stat. Both teams had recorded 40 boards. Florida won the assist battle 22-16, so it wasn't too much. Auburn won the turnover battle 8-12. They kind of even out a little bit. Auburn shot 5 more free throws and had 6 more shot attempts on the game than Florida, but Florida was just more consistent. They were very physical that game. Janine Broome ended the game with 18 points, 11 boards, 6 assists, but he was 8 of 19 shooting. Not the greatest, about 42% from the field. He's had better shooting games than that, but it happens, man. It was a really good game to watch, to be honest. I loved watching it. It's just, you can't do much about it, you know what I'm saying? Dylan Cardwell also had 12 rebounds for Auburn, but it wasn't enough, you know what I'm saying? They got outscored from 3 by 6 more threes. Florida State shot 13 of 33 from, or Florida, my bad, not Florida State, shot 13 of 33 from 3. Auburn shot 7 of 22. But yeah, Auburn took that loss. They are still ranked number 1. So we'll see how that turns out this week against Vandy, and then Bama, number 2 Bama, Saturday. Next up, Over to the ACC, where number 2 Duke took on Clemson. Clemson fed the post of Victor Lakin, and they were just very efficient. The Tigers shot 59% from the field and 40% from 3. Although they did only take 10 threes, making 4 of them, they were super efficient throughout the entire game. Ian Shefflin had 12 points, 10 boards, and Victor led the way with 22 on 9 of 12 from shooting. Chase Hunter added 14 points and 7 boards, as well as shooting 5 of 8 from the field for Clemson. On the other hand, Duke's Tyrese Proctor kept them in this game the whole time. Duke had a 6-point lead at the break. Tyrese Proctor had a very good game. He was hitting buckets after buckets when they needed him to. But yeah, they were very physical tonight. So was Clemson. Cooper Flagg had a very hard time this game. Clemson made him take tough shots the entire night. He was making some of them, but they were very physical with him. Every time Cooper came around the screen, they would bump him. They would hit him sometimes. Just straight up run into him chest to chest, slow him down. Sometimes I even seen they get a little bit of elbow in there with Cooper. They made him earn his shots tonight, that's for sure. That's one thing I've noticed. They really made him work for those shots. And, Clemson won that battle. Cooper Flagg still had 18 points, but he shot 6 of 17 from the field. He was 3 of 6 from 3, so he did shoot good from 3 still. But about 37% from the field today. Duke, they did just get out rebounded a lot this game. Duke only had 23 rebounds to Clemson's 36 rebounds in this game, so Clemson was getting a lot of rebounds. They did only out rebound Duke by 3 on the offensive glass, so they got 3 extra possessions, 3 second chances from offensive rebounds. But yeah, if your team is shooting 59% from the field, you're probably gonna win, and that's what happened. Clemson upsets number 2 Duke 77-71. Duke drops to number 3 in the rankings. We'll see how they are this week. Then next up we got Creighton playing number 11 Marquette. The Blue Jays just outshot Marquette. The Blue Jays shot 53% from the field, while Marquette only shot 36 from the field. Cam Jones for the Golden Eagles tried his hardest. He put up 27 points with 6 assists, 4 boards. He shot 11 of 19 from the floor, but it wasn't enough to get it done. Stephen Ashworth led the way with 22 points, 7 assists on 6 of 9 from 3, while Ryan Kalkbrenner had 17 points, 7 boards on 8 of 9 from the floor for the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays walk out of there with a W. Next up, we got Kansas State beating Kansas over the weekend, 81-73. Both teams shot 50% this game, but Kansas State won this game from hitting 5 more threes and also 6 more shot attempts. Kansas won the rebound battle and foul battle, but they were even in assist, and they had 4 more turnovers than Kansas State. Winning the turnover battle, I've noticed more recently as I've gotten more into college basketball, is winning the turnover battle most of the time means you win the game. Like, a lot of games in college are decided by turnovers. Like, they really are. A lot of games are decided by turnovers. And winning the turnover battle is always a ginormous plus for any team in college. The Wildcats' Doug McDaniel had 15 points with 11 assists. And David, not even going to butcher your last name, dog, had 20.7 boards. For Kansas, Hunter Dickinson led the way with 21 points, 9 boards. He didn't have the greatest game of his career, but he did what he had to do. Anyways, now let's talk. The top 4 ACC teams are good. We all know that. Duke, Clemson, Louisville, Wake Forest, they're all good. obviously Duke is better than the others, is what a lot of people say. Obviously, they're ranked higher. We know the ACC is not the best Power 4 conference, and it probably is even the worst Power 4 conference this year. But we know one thing: Duke, Clemson, and Louisville should all be ranked at the end of the season. At least I believe so. Those three teams are good. Everyone knows Duke is good. Clemson just beat Duke as well, so Clemson put their name out there. I do think Louisville is still underrated for how good they actually are as of right now. Louisville's win over Clemson holds a lot because of Clemson's win to Duke. So that does help Louisville a lot. If Louisville and Clemson's conference record is tied at the end of the season, Louisville does have the tiebreaker because of their win over Clemson. My bad. And which then they'll get whatever seed it is. It would most likely be the 2 seed. So if Clemson and Louisville's conference records are tied at the end of the season, Louisville will probably get the 2 seed because that's probably what they would be tied at if they are tied. They'll probably be tied for the 2 seed. And I really want to see a rematch of Duke and Louisville. After the way Clemson played Duke, I think Louisville could also beat Duke. And I say that if they played again, Louisville would win. I can't say that. Do they have a chance? Yes. They had a chance even with one of their key players and Kayshawn Pryor going down with an injury. They still had a chance. They barely lost to Duke. They were up at one point in that Duke game. They ended up losing by 11. They gave Duke a run for their money. I will say that. I will say that. Duke obviously has gotten better since then, but so has Louisville, so has Clemson. That's why Clemson played a very good game against Duke. They won. I think if Louisville also played them, they could also win. But all we could do is just wait and see for the ACC tournament. Maybe they meet up in the ACC tournament, and we'll see the rematch then, who's the better team is, or if Louisville can, get the win on a neutral court in the ACC tournament. Anyways, obviously Louisville having those key injuries and still were trying to figure out their roles earlier in the season when they were playing big teams. The only 2 teams who blew them out was Ole Miss and Tennessee. Louisville was in every other game. They barely lost to Kentucky. I think if Louisville played Kentucky today, they beat Kentucky because Kentucky cannot get a stop to save their lives. Duke, obviously, I just talked about that. Clemson, I think Clemson-Louisville would be another good game to watch. I would like to see that as well in the ACC tournament. See if Louisville's really up to the test. Maybe they played Clemson first. They had, and then they played Duke next. That would be a good test. That would be a very strong test for Louisville because if they beat both of those teams, they win both of those games, win the ACC, they might jump up to a 5-4 seed in the tournament maybe. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I think Louisville's got a good shot at winning the ACC tournament. So does Clemson. Obviously, we all know Duke does. But yeah, man, if they don't drop a game, they should be ranked at the end of the season. To me, I do think Clemson, Duke, and Louisville will all be ranked at the end of the season as long as none of them do drop a game. If they all win out, they should be good. But yeah, Clemson, toughest game will probably be at Florida State this Saturday or at SMU next Saturday. We all know that Clemson should, if they don't drop a game, be ranked, like I just said. We already know Duke's going to be ranked, obviously. And then Duke's toughest game, I believe, is against Illinois. That game is at home, though. They're playing at home against Illinois. I think that is their toughest game for the remainder of their season. It is not a ACC conference game, so their ACC scheduling was kind of weird this year, but it happens. I mean, it gets switched up a lot. They do get North Carolina at the Dean E. Smith Center in North Carolina. But I don't think that would. I don't think that's gonna be a hard game after seeing what Duke and North Carolina did. But anyways, next up, Louisville. Obviously, I think they should be ranked as of right now. I know that Georgia Tech loss hurt them, but Clemson also lost to Georgia Tech. And a lot of people want to say, yeah, well, Clemson beat Duke. Well, Louisville beat Clemson. And they played a very well game against Duke while just coming off of a key injury to one of their best players in Kayshawn Pryor. Like, you can't just say, like, all right, well, I mean, obviously, I can't really say much either in my favor of Louisville because they did lose to Duke and Clemson did beat Duke. But then in the other side of the argument, it's kind of like a circle. Louisville beat Clemson. You know what I mean? Like, Louisville beat Clemson as well. And that holds a lot of weight, I believe. I do think Louisville should be ranked right now. They were on a 12-game winning streak? 11-game winning streak? Or no. Something like that, yeah. And then they lose to Georgia Tech. And that automatically dropped them out the top 25. I don't think that should have happened. Yes, Georgia Tech is not a very good basketball team, but good teams drop wins. Like, they do. Duke could easily beat Clemson. They could have easily beat Clemson, but they dropped the game. Clemson played a very well game. That's exactly what happened with Louisville and Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech was hitting crazy shots. Louisville was also hitting shots, but they just couldn't get a stop. Georgia Tech was just getting buckets. Okay? So you can't fault a team for all dropping a game like that. Like, I do believe Louisville should be ranked as of right now, but I don't get a say in the vote, so it's all right. Louisville, their toughest game of the season will probably be at Notre Dame this Saturday or at home against Pitt on the 1st of March. I'm expecting Louisville to at least end the season off on a 9-game winning streak. They have no more quad 1 games, so hopefully they don't lose anymore. I think if they win out, they definitely will be ranked. But I do think they need to win out to be ranked, and I do think that they need to win out to also solidify that second spot, because Clemson, I'm gonna go ahead and on a limb and say that I think Clemson will win out their season. I don't think they're gonna lose another ACC game. So Louisville has to win out. They have to win all their ACC games, and they could potentially claim that second seed spot in the ACC tournament. Next up, I got Wake Forest. They aren't bad, but they aren't great. They have a loss to Clemson, Louisville, and Duke, the 3 teams ahead of them. They lost to Clemson by 11, lost to Duke by 7, lost to Louisville by 13. So Wake Forest can hang in there with those teams. But those teams are just too much for them. We've seen in every single one of those games. The Duke game was their best one out of all 3, but they did play Duke at home. The Louisville and Clemson game, they played away. They played at Louisville, at Clemson. Their toughest game will come on March 3rd against number 3 Duke. Again, they get to play them again, but this time they're playing at Duke. So I'm going to say Duke wins that game as well. They probably win by 17 or more. Hunter Salas will have to have a great game. Same with Cameron Hildreth. They're going to have to have a great game in general, both of them, just to even give Wake Forest a shot against Duke. But once again, time will tell. We don't know. Anyways, let's hop into the MidCourt Report. All right. The team to make it out the ACC, the team out of the ACC, to make a deep tournament run. I thought a lot about this because I like Clemson. I like Louisville. Obviously, we know Duke probably could make, they probably will make somewhat of a deep playoff run. The earliest I see them getting eliminated is maybe the Elite 8 or the 6 or Sweet 16. Gosh. But I mean, Louisville and Clemson, between them two, I love both teams. They're both good. Louisville has that head-to-head matchup win over Clemson. And I do think I'm going to go with Pat Kelsey and the Louisville Cardinals. Like I said again, I love what Clemson's doing, but I think if these guys get a good, solid side of the bracket, they could go to the Sweet 16, the Cards. Maybe if they get a big upset, maybe 2 big upsets, they can end up in the Elite 8. But the Sweet 16 is where I could see them going. Clemson, same thing, depending on how good the side of the bracket that they end up on. If they end up on maybe the worst side of the bracket, they could possibly go Sweet 16, maybe Elite 8. But if I was to put both of these teams in the hardest, the strongest side of the bracket, I think Louisville has the better chance of going farther. What Pat Kelsey is doing with them is very good for the program and for years to come. He's a very well-rounded coach and a lot of energy, and the team feeds off of it. I do really like what Clemson's doing as well, obviously. Like I said, I think they could be good for a couple years to come as well, depending on how their recruiting goes. I haven't seen much about their recruiting. I do know Louisville does have a 5-star point guard on his way, and then I also do know that Nate Ament, 5-star, he's the highest ranked prospect as of right now that has not committed, highest uncommitted prospect in all of high school in the class of 2025. And his 2 teams that he is currently, that I am hearing about, is Duke and Louisville. He does have his list down to, I believe, 7 teams as of right now, but Duke and Louisville are the top 2, Duke being 1, Louisville being 2. And I have heard that people around his family, his immediate family, his brother, sister, mom, all them, really like Pat Kelsey, and they really like Louisville. And at the end of the day, he is going to make his own decision, but his family is leaning towards him going to Louisville. They want him in Louisville, but he wants to play with a couple of his friends who have just recently committed to Duke. They're going to Duke, and a couple of his friends, his close friends, are going to Duke. He's said before he wants to play with them. So we don't know. His family's leaning Louisville. His friends went Duke, and he wants to play with his friends. At the end of the day, it will be up to him. He'll probably commit at the end of February, early March is when we're starting to look at for him. So Nate Ament could be going to Louisville. They have a really good shot. They're number 2 as of right now, is what everybody's hearing from him and his family. But Duke's number 1. And obviously, we all know Duke's good. We all know they're good. They're going to be good next year. And they're going to be good for almost every year to come. It's Duke. They're a blue blood. Louisville is also blue blood. But, they've had 2 of the worst seasons in school history last year and the year before. Now they're back. They're back being an actual good team on their way to their first NCAA appearance since 2021, I believe. But even then, 2021, I don't think they were allowed to play because of their scandal. So yeah, we'll see what's going to happen with Nate Ament. What's going to happen with Louisville's recruiting. Clemson's recruiting I haven't heard much about. But that's who I'm going to go with. Louisville is the team most likely out of the ACC besides Duke to make a deep playoff run. If you guys agree with me or don't, let me know down in the comments below. But yeah, thanks for stopping by. Peace out.